Hi everyone, Coach Sipho here, and from the intro video of this middle game course or series, we already learned that there are three main plans in the middle game, and they are: 1. You could attack opponent's king and try to checkmate it. 2. You could attack opponent's pawns and capture them. 3. You could try to improve your pieces or deprove opponent's pieces by pushing them back. In short, on the third plan, you are trying to make your pieces more active than the opponent's pieces. If you watch that intro, you will also recall that one of our students also asked,
how do you know which plan is best in a particular position?
The answer to that question was that there are 5 different types of centers, and these centers act as guidelines as to which plan you should go for. Now, these 5 different types of centers are the closed center, the open center, the static or fixed center, the hanging pawn center, and the dynamic pawn center. Once you're able to distinguish, identify, and understand what you need to do on each and every center, you will be able to play any middle game you encounter, and you will play it with confidence. Therefore, today we are going to deal with the closed center. I'm going to teach you how to handle the closed center and what are the plans so that you will be able to play it with confidence. Without any more delays, let's dive into it. The closed center is the position where the 4 central pawns are blocking each other, and of course they cannot advance. We get the closed center from the openings like the Caro-kann defense after e4, c6, d4, d5. Now if white plays pawn to e5, it becomes the Caro-kann defense advanced variation. And as you will soon see, that after e6, the 4 central pawns are now blocking each other. They cannot advance. Hence, this falls under the closed center. We also get the closed center from the French defense advanced variation. Instead of c6, Caro-kann defense, now black plays e6, which is the French defense. After d4, d5, if white takes, now it won't be French defense advanced variation. It will be French defense exchange variation. And of course, the center won't fall under the closed center now. But if white advances the pawn, it becomes the closed center. As we can see that these 4 central pawns cannot advance. They are now blocking each other. Now the follow-up question is, what do we do? What is the plan when we have the closed center? It is important to note first that when you play chess, the most important part of the board is the center. The center are these 4 central squares, and sometimes they include this part. But it is mainly these 4 central squares. These 4 central squares. You need to fight for those squares. But when the center is closed, that means these 4 central pawns cannot move, meaning you cannot advance them forward and fight for more space. You cannot even place your pieces here or here where they will be able to influence the center, because the 4 pawns are blocking the center and everything stops in the center. So what is the plan when the center is closed? Since we cannot make advancement in the center, then the plan is to play on the flanks. Now someone might ask, on which side? Should I play this side or should I play this side? Normally you attack on the side where the pawn chain is facing. White's pawn chain is facing on the king side. That's usually the side where you have more space to bring your pawns or pieces. So in this position, white usually plays on the king side. You can afford to move your pawns, and you will also bring your pieces that side. since you have more space than black. Black's pawn chain is facing on the queen side. That means black has more space on the queen side. So black should attack on the queen side. Now someone might ask, what are you actually attacking? You are trying to create more space on the queen side as black so that you will be able to bring more pieces on the queen side. And you are also trying to demolish this pawn chain. Now, if you were to demolish a building, would you attack it on top? Would you attack the top of the pawn chain or the bottom? What would you attack? The building from the bottom or the building from the top? The logical plan is to attack the building from the bottom. If you conquer the bottom of the building, the top will just fall automatically. So as black, you wanna attack the base of the pawn chain by playing, for example, pawn to c5. You are trying to demolish this pawn chain, but attacking it from the bottom of the pawn chain. So black will normally play pawn c5, trying to undermine the pawn chain from the bottom. White will play pawn c3, trying to solidify his or her pawn chain. Now, black will play a move like this. And you will notice that all these moves are focusing on the base of the white's pawn chain. White will usually play a move like this, developing a piece while protecting the center even more. And then black will usually follow up with queen b6, putting more pressure on that base of the pawn chain. You can see that black's plan is to move his or her pieces towards the queen side and try to attack the base of the pawn chain. Now black has 3 pieces attacking that base and white has 3 pieces defending it. So white will usually carry on with his or her plan. Maybe bishop e2 or bishop d3. Now someone might say, but the bishop is blocking the queen. The queen can no longer defend that pawn now. Meaning black will have an upper hand. 3 attackers of this pawn and white has 2 only now, since the bishop is blocking the queen's view. Well, white has an hidden trap there. Black cannot win that pawn for free because after taking, yes, there are 2 attackers of that pawn and 1 defender. But black cannot take because after this, the bishop will move and the queen will fall. The bishop moves with a check. Now the queen cannot run away since it is a check. Black must get the king out of check. So taking that d4 pawn is not a good idea. Before taking that pawn, black must play bishop d7. And I'm sure you can see now that black has been attacking on the side where his or her pawn chain is facing. So you bring your pieces this side because you have more space on that side. White should attack on that side because his pawn chain is facing on the king side. Of course, before white does that, attacking on the king side, he should make sure that his center is solid, especially the base of his pawn chain. Now white will play this move in order to open the queen's view. Now black has 2 attackers and white has 2 attackers. So black won't be able to take that pawn after this move, opening the queen's view. Now black will continue with his or her development while also trying to put more pressure on that base of the pawn chain. For example, black can play moves like that and bring more pieces on the queen side where he has more space, or play moves like this with an intention to play the knight there, putting more pressure on that base of the pawn chain. On the other hand, white will try to solidify the base of his pawn chain by developing more pieces, castling, defending that pawn even more when it's safe to do so. And then after that, white will try to attack on the king side. White can afford to even advance pawns because the center is closed. When the center is closed, you can push pawns. Congratulations for learning how to play the closed center. I'm confident that you will be able to play the closed center when you encounter it. Make sure you will join us next week, Saturday, when we'll be dealing with another type of the center by smashing that subscribe button so that you will be notified when we do so. Until next week, peace.